How many people can play Mario Kart all at once? 4, 8, 12? Well, normally you'd be right, but in late 2019, I had learned that it's possible to connect Nintendo GameCubes to each other to support up to 16 players all at once. The ultimate Mario Kart setup. I searched low and high for videos or pictures of anyone playing Mario Kart with 16 people. To this day, I found exactly one video of a fully complete 16-person Mario Kart setup. These comments sum up the feelings well. However, Nintendo has made this as difficult as possible to ever play Mario Kart this way. It requires a lot of GameCubes, TVs, games, adapters, and most challenging of all, 16 friends to play with, not online, but in person. This is my story and how I did it. And by the way, if you like what you see, a subscription makes a huge difference to a tiny channel like mine. It's 2019 and I just moved in with a brand new roommate. This roommate runs Smash tournaments, the cool kind, and has a bunch of TVs lying around. Very convenient, I thought. Also owns a bunch of Wiis, which of course are backwards compatible with the Nintendo GameCube Mario Kart game. And these Wiis are also super easy to load any game you want, legally of course. I would soon learn that almost everything I just said is not helpful to pull off a 16-player Mario Kart game. A few months later, and some global events happened, and let's just say large social gatherings were on pause. Let's start with the easy stuff. ATVs. Although it's a lot, you can use almost any screen for this. Smaller old CRT TVs are cheap and they plug in really easily. Modern flat screens work as well, you just need an additional adapter to make it work with HDMI. 8 Nintendo GameCubes. This is where many will point out that you could probably use a more common Nintendo Wii instead. I did a ton of research on this, but long story short, you basically want to be using GameCubes for this. 8 copies of Mario Kart Double Dash. Here's when it starts to get a little painful. Each of the 8 GameCubes need their own copy of this game. And over the last few years, the price of these older games have jumped up, just like many other collectibles. 8 Nintendo GameCube broadband adapters. Here's where the magic happens. Nintendo was testing the waters with internet-enabled games at this time. Very few of them actually had online features, and even fewer in America, and required this adapter that fits into a secret compartment at the bottom of the GameCube. Nintendo didn't make a ton of these, so these can get a little pricey. Luckily, both Japanese and North American ones are compatible, so that helps a lot. 1 network switch. This is the most boring part of it all. I picked up a cheap switch that I found that could handle 8 Ethernet connections at once. I probably should have thought this one through a little bit more, but it worked and it was pretty cheap. You also need to buy Ethernet cables for all the GameCubes. In order to do it in the space I had, I purchased 8 cables of varying length from a local computer store. 16 controllers. This part is tough. They have to be compatible with the GameCube, but luckily they don't have to be the nicest controllers. I was able to buy these for less than $10 each on Amazon, but 16 controllers certainly adds up fast. 16 friends. I'm grateful to have a social circle that made it easy for me to have 20 or so people over at my place for a night. I know that this is not always possible for some people, and I'm very blessed to have a group willing to come over. Shout out to everyone who puts up with me. So procuring everything is by far the hardest part. This stuff is really pricey, so I slowly purchased all of these things, piece by piece, over the course of 2 whole years. The expensive parts of this are actually resellable, and sometimes more than what you paid for, but it still requires a bit of an investment. The setup is fairly straightforward. You plug in the network adapters. You plug in all 8 GameCubes to the TVs as you usually would. Connect all the GameCubes with Ethernet cables to the network switch. Finally, turn everything on. The game will ask you about a memory card, but you can ignore that. It's not needed. When you've plugged in the LAN adapter, a new menu option appears on the title screen called LAN mode. With all of the GameCubes entering LAN mode, you connect to this lobby, and when all 8 GameCubes are ready, one player presses start and it begins the session. Now things get a little bit more interesting. Here you have the menu. You have plenty of control here. You can pick different modes, pick what tracks, how many laps, and more. The big missing feature is you don't actually get to pick your character. At first I thought this was super annoying, but it kinda makes sense. Everyone has their own favorite characters, and 16 people trying to select a character all at once would be a total mess. Each GameCube, and thus TV, is assigned a station number from 1 through 8, which stays consistent between races, which is super nice. So after all of this, there's another screen where everyone needs to hit the A button before the timer counts down to 0. It's a bit stressful, but afterwards you are off to the races. The game plays basically how you'd expect it. There are 2 players per kart, but it still requires coordination from both players to be able to effectively drive and throw items correctly. I decided to throw a Mario themed party, with costumes strongly recommended, and invited people without telling a single person about this whole Mario Kart thing I had just assembled. I revealed it as a big surprise and everyone had a blast playing the most ridiculous 16-player Mario Kart races we've ever seen. Screaming, celebrating, tears, and the teamwork was just magical. Over 2 years I slowly assembled this entire thing together, and I finally pulled off the most exotic way to play Mario Kart. It was a great time, and I wanted to make sure this whole thing was documented somewhere because of how unique it was. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.